right, let's dive in. Today, we're tackling person-centered therapy.
PCT.
That's the one. We've got this research essay by Marcin Bogucki, a psychotherapy student.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a cool mix of, like, the theory behind PCT, what it's like in practice.
Real-world stuff.
Exactly. And even from his own reflections,
Yeah.
from his experience.
I like that. So what's the mission for today's deep dive?
Well, I really want to unpack what makes PCT stand out.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely unique.
How it sees us, like how it views our personalities and all that.
Ah, interesting.
And, of course, how it actually helps people with, real-life issues.
Sounds good to me.
So, first things first. What's the deal with PCT? How's it different? Like, if I go to a therapist and they're all about giving advice or assigning homework.
Oh, PCT is totally different. It's not about that at all.
How so?
Well, it kind of flips the whole thing around.
Really?
You, the client, you're the expert on your own life.
Okay.
It's about creating a space, right, where you can explore everything you're feeling.
Without judgment, right?
Absolutely. And ultimately, it's about you guiding your own journey.
Yeah.
Towards growth and all that.
That's powerful. But how does a therapist actually help if they're not giving advice?
It's all about the relationship, the therapeutic relationship.
Okay, but what makes it so special?
It's built on empathy, deep understanding, like you're on this journey together.
I see, like a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the therapist is there to help you tap into, well, your own wisdom, your potential.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But before we get into all that, like the specifics of this relationship, I'm curious. How does PCT view personality?
It sees personality as this dynamic interplay of three main things.
Laid it on me.
First, you've got self-concept.
So how we see ourselves, like our beliefs, values.
Exactly. Then there's this thing called the actualization process.
Okay, break that down for me.
It's like this drive we all have, this innate drive to grow, reach our full potential.
Like blossoming.
Yeah, like becoming the best versions of ourselves.
I love that. But what was the third thing?
Right. Conditions of worth.
That one sounds kind of heavy.
Yeah, it can be tricky. They develop early on.
How so?
It's like we learn that love and acceptance, it depends on certain things.
Behaving in certain ways?
Exactly. Say, your family really valued academic achievement. You might end up on a career path.
It's not really for you.
Right, based more on their expectations than what you truly love.
Oh, wow. That makes sense. It's like chasing external validation instead of following, like, your own internal compass.
Precisely. And the essay had this great example.
Tell me.
So this client was really struggling with career choices.
Because of family pressure.
Yeah, immense pressure to go down a certain path, even though...
It didn't feel right.
Exactly.
So it's like these conditions of worth, they create a disconnect between who we really are.
And who we think we should be.
Wow, that hits home. So how does PCT actually address that in therapy? What's the magic of this therapeutic relationship?
Carl Rogers, one of the pioneers of PCT, he talked about these 6 core conditions essential for creating that space for transformation.
6. Okay, let's break it down. First one.
Psychological contact. It might seem basic.
Like, you gotta be in the same room.
More than that, it's about feeling seen, heard.
Truly understood.
Yeah, by the therapist. Like, everything matters,
A therapist's demeanor, the environment.
Right. And sometimes there's stuff that makes building trust hard.
Past experiences, maybe?
Exactly. Like if someone's had bad experiences with therapy before.
It might take more time.
Absolutely. Okay, next up is empathy.
This is a big one, right?
Huge. In PCT, it goes beyond just, acknowledging your feelings.
It's deeper.
Yeah. The therapist is really trying to understand your world from your perspective.
That's powerful.
The essay even talks about this thing called idiosyncratic empathy.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's like understanding the client's unique emotional language.
So, like, some people express sadness through anger.
Yeah. Or joy through tears. It's getting those nuances.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, what else makes this therapeutic relationship so special?
Unconditional positive regard.
UPR.
That's it. It's radical acceptance.
Accepting the client for who they are. Flaws they must.
Exactly. It's like saying you're worthy of love and acceptance just because you exist.
I love that.
The therapist is offering this constant warmth, understanding, no matter what.
Creating a safe haven.
Yes. A judgment-free zone. You can explore your true self without fear. The essay gave this great example about conditional versus unconditional love.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's the difference between saying, I'll only love you if you get good grades.
Versus, I love you no matter what, even if you make mistakes.
Right. UPR creates that safe space to reconnect with yourself.
Without needing approval.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. What's next on our list?
Congruence. This is about the therapist being authentic.
So not putting on a therapist persona.
Exactly. Being genuine, transparent, and this requires self-awareness.
So we're the therapist.
Yeah, they need to be in touch with their own stuff, so they don't project judgments.
So the client can lead.
Exactly. It's your journey. Okay, 2 more. We've got concreteness.
That sounds familiar.
It's about the here and now, exploring present experiences,
Not dwelling on the past.
or worrying about the future.
Staying present. And the last one.
Immediacy. The therapist is willing to address what's happening in the room right now.
So if there's tension,
A misunderstanding?
bring it up.
Yeah, transparency is key.
So just to recap, the 6 core conditions.
Psychological contact,
Empathy, UPR.
congruence, concreteness, and immediacy.
It all comes back to the relationship.
Absolutely. And it's this relationship that empowers you, the client. You're the expert, remember?
Mind blown. We've barely scratched the surface.
There's so much more.
I'm hooked. But for now, we've got to pause our deep dive. Join us next time for part 2. We'll explore these special applications of PCT
How it blends with other approaches.
to create a truly personalized experience. See you then. All right, welcome back to our deep dive into person-centered therapy. Last time, things got pretty deep, right?
We did cover a lot. Those core principles, the client taking the lead.
Exactly. And those 6 core conditions. Talk about a powerful relationship. So today, we're diving
For
into...
special applications.
Yes. How PCT can be integrated with other types of therapy. I'm so curious about this.
It's what makes PCT so adaptable. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
More like a toolbox.
Yeah, exactly. The therapist can pick and choose based on your needs.
Like a personalized blend. So cool.
Let's say you're having trouble connecting with your emotions.
Okay, yeah.
The therapist might use something called focusing-oriented therapy.
Focusing-oriented therapy. What's that?
It helps you tap into your felt sense.
Felt sense.
It's that bodily experience of an emotion, like, ugh.
Like a knot in your stomach when you're anxious.
Exactly. Focusing-oriented therapy helps you explore that, uncover the deeper meaning,
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
like giving your body a voice, right? Or maybe you're stuck in the past, always worrying about the future.
That's me sometimes.
The therapist might use some Gestalt therapy techniques.
To bring you back to the present moment.
Right, which aligns with that concreteness in PCT.
Staying grounded in the here and now. Makes sense.
Then there's emotion-focused therapy, EFT.
Oh, EFT. I've heard of that.
It helps you identify and process your emotions.
So combining that with PCT's empathy and UPR, wow, that's got to be powerful.
It really amplifies the healing potential. The essay also mentioned integrating spirituality.
Yeah, that caught my eye too.
It seems counterintuitive, but
When you think about self-actualization, becoming whole,
it makes sense. Some therapists might bring in mindfulness, meditation, to deepen your sense of connection.
I like that. Acknowledging something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. So PCT really is like a chameleon, blending, adapting to each person.
I'm seeing that. What other special applications stood out to you?
Motivational interviewing, for one.
MI.
Yeah.
Right. Isn't that used a lot with addiction?
Yes, it's rooted in PCT principles. Really effective for helping people overcome addiction.
How does it work? Does the therapist just tell you to quit?
No, it's not about confrontation. MI recognizes that change is hard.
Especially with addiction.
Right. So the therapist helps you explore your feelings about changing.
Your own ambivalence.
Exactly, tapping into your own motivation.
It's like you can't force someone to change.
You have to help them find their own reasons. The essay had this great example.
Oh, tell me.
A client struggling with drug use. He only wanted to quit if he understood why he was using.
Makes sense.
So the therapist used MI, helped him explore his feelings, no judgment. That client had this aha moment, realized he had the power to choose recovery.
Wow, that's so powerful. What was the other application that you like?
Experiential therapy, expressing yourself through creative activities.
Like art therapy.
Yeah, music, play, even psychodrama.
So instead of just talking, you're expressing your emotions through art, movement.
Exactly. Especially helpful for people who have a hard time with words.
It's like giving your subconscious a voice.
The essay talked about using art therapy for trauma, play therapy for kids.
Psychodrama for relationships. Wow. So many possibilities.
The essay also touched on working with difficult processes.
Difficult processes. Does that mean like specific diagnoses?
Not necessarily. It's more about recognizing that some issues can make therapy harder.
Like trauma, grief?
Yeah, even personality disorders, things that might make it difficult to connect.
So PCT can still be used, but it requires extra sensitivity.
Exactly. Meeting the client where they are. The key is empathy. No saving the client.
The essay made that really clear.
Just being present with them, like that example with the client experiencing potential delusions.
That one was really powerful. Showed the importance of not dismissing someone's reality.
Even when it's hard to understand, it's about honoring their experience. Unconditional positive regard.
Trusting in their capacity for growth. Wow, I'm really seeing how versatile PCT is.
It's an amazing toolbox. So many ways to help people heal and grow.
I feel like we could talk about this forever. But for now, we'll have to take a break.
We'll wrap up our deep dive in part 3, explore some final takeaways, some food for thought.
Consider this. How could these special applications of PCT change your view of therapy?
We'll see you soon.
Wow, I'm still processing everything we've covered about person-centered therapy.
It's a lot to take in, right?
It is, but in a good way.
Yeah.
It's like mind-expanding.
I agree. And I think what's most striking is that shift, from the therapist as the expert.
To the client being the expert.
Exactly. It creates a space for real growth.
Like that self-actualization we talked about.
Yeah, that innate drive to blossom, reach our full potential. And PCT helps clear the path,
Removing those blocks.
Like those limiting beliefs, those conditions of worth.
So you can reconnect with your true self. It's almost like PCT is saying,
here are the tools, the support, now go explore.
I love that.
And
what's so cool is that it's not a rigid system.
No, it's so adaptable.
It's like whether you're exploring your emotions through art,
or tapping into your inner wisdom with focusing-oriented therapy.
or finding your motivation with MI.
There's a way to make it work for you.
And it's still so relevant today,
Absolutely. Decades later, and it's still evolving.
But always staying true to those core values.
Empathy, respect, that belief in our capacity for growth. And I think that's why it resonates with so many people.
It's hopeful. It's empowering.
It reminds us that we're not broken. We don't need fixing. We have everything we need within us.
We just need the right support to access it.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into PCT, what's the one thing you hope listeners take away?
I think it's that understanding that healing comes from within.
That we're not problems to be solved.
We're complex individuals with this amazing capacity for transformation.
And that message, it goes beyond therapy, doesn't it?
It really does. Imagine approaching all our relationships with that same empathy.
Unconditional positive regard.
Seeing each other as fellow travelers on this journey.
What a beautiful thought. So as we close, here's a final question for our listeners to ponder.
Okay, I like this.
If you were to truly embrace those PCT values, empathy, UPR, that deep respect for yourself and others,
how would it change things?
How might your relationships, your own self-understanding, transform? What new possibilities could open up?
That's a powerful question. And if you're intrigued by what you've heard today,
definitely explore PCT further.
You might be amazed by what you discover. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.